My life's a disaster zone. I got a stepdaughter so fucked up because her real father's this large-type asshole. I got a wife. We're passing each other on the downslope of a marriage, my third. Because I spend all my time chasing guys like you around the block. That's my life.
Guy told me one time, don't let yourself get attached to anything you are not willing to walk out on in 30 seconds flat if you feel the heat around the corner. Now, if you're around me and you gotta move when I move, how do you expect to keep a marriage?
Well, that's an interesting point. What are you, a monk?
Hello, everyone. We are Lost Futures, a Mark Fisher podcast, and I'm Steve.
I'm Marlowe.
And this week we're talking about Chapter 5, October 6th, 1979. Don't let yourself get attached to anything. And that was the culminating scene of 1995 film Heat by Michael Mann. Heat is a famous movie with the character Neil McCauley, played by Robert De Niro, and it's a cat and mouse kind of thing where he gets chased around by Al Pacino's character, Vincent Hanna.
Yeah, that's the names of those characters I remember every time I watch Heat and while watching it. It was famous at a time because, it was the first movie that De Niro and Pacino would actually share screen time in, whereas in Godfather 2, De Niro was only in it in flashbacks, so while they both had credits on the movie, they never appeared in a scene together. The part we played at the top is the first scene that they're actually having a dialogue with each other. It's in many ways, and certainly as Mark Fisher is seeing it, but in 1995 as well, it was in many ways kind of this modernization of the gangster story, as was a, hot thing to do at the time and still to today. And the part of that being the use of De Niro and Pacino in it. There are 3 divorces in Heat. There is so much divorce in the movie.
Yeah, Pacino is in a tumultuous relationship.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's in a middle-aged people who have fallen out of love marriage. Yeah, Val Kilmer's getting divorced for some reason in the
Val
movie.
Kilmer's always fighting and always ending up on De Niro's couch. He's sleeping there a lot, or it's the whole thing.
So he's basically using Heat kind of in a, I think, obvious way as a foil to the old style of Godfather and Scorsese, and specifically focusing in on the lack of signifiers to pre-modernism. So, in the old mafia movies, namely, he's using Goodfellas and Godfather as his reference points. You have a lot of references to specifically Italian culture, as that came over to America, Italian-American culture, these rituals and traditions, feasts, etc., Catholic Church, Old New York, the marketplace, all those kinds of things. Whereas Heat takes place in LA, the world's shittiest, most nondescript city in the world, and takes place among people who only have white as an ethnicity, for the most part. So that's basically what Mark Fisher's saying.
Yeah, he talks about Los Angeles. Heat's Los Angeles is a world without landmarks, a branded sprawl, where markable territory has been replaced by endlessly repeating vistas of replicating franchises. The ghosts of old Europe that stalk Scorsese and Coppola's streets have been exorcised, buried with the ancient beefs, bad blood, and burning vendettas somewhere beneath the multi-international coffee shops. He fucking hates Starbucks. He talks
Yeah.
about it all the time as an example of kind of like the postmodern
Yeah,
destroying
this is
the
the
old.
2000s. It was like the only brand. Oh, how little they knew.
And then he goes on to describe the De Niro character as kind of an avatar for this, like facelessness or characterlessness. He says here, you can learn a great deal about the world of Heat from considering the name Neil Macaulay. It is an anonymous name, a fake passport name, a name that is bereft of history, even as, ironically, it echoes the name of British historian Lord Macaulay. Compare Corleone and remember that the Godfather was named after a village. Macaulay is perhaps the part that De Niro played that is closest to the actor's own personality. A screen, a cipher, depthless, icily professional, stripped down to pure preparation, research. And here, I think you were talking to me about this. I didn't know De Niro's reputation for this.
Yeah, I
As
mean,
being a screen, as being a lifeless. I've always thought of him as kind of, at least recently, kind of an outspoken liberal that
he's
talks
generally
about Trump.
Yeah, he's generally in interviews really reserved. Part of that is because he doesn't like giving interviews. Part of that's also because when Mark Fisher was writing this, De Niro was kind of in the middle of his shit movie cycle where he just made a bunch of movies that it was clear he didn't really care about. And so he would constantly be like on Letterman, and Letterman would be trying to get him to talk about the movie like it was his job or something. And De Niro would be like,
I live in your neighborhood, literally your neighborhood. We're neighbors, and this is your first time. And what have I done?
God, I don't know. I just, well, whatever. Dustin, he'll explain.
And like that'd be all you got out of De Niro. But like he's generally, I think that's part of it, like that level of reservedness. People typically say he's a professional. I mean, to the extent that anyone says that about anyone. But my interpretation of that is, yeah, largely De Niro doesn't like to talk about himself too much.
Yeah, he does come across as sort of the professional middle class kind of archetype, if you will, like a manager rather than a mafia boss. He
Well, I mean, even in Goodfellas, you had Joe Pesci and you had Robert De Niro.
right.
You like, yeah, and De Niro generally, and I mean also in like Casino, I mean he kind of plays a fairly similar character to his character in Goodfellas, except he's Jewish that time. And like, yeah, he's the kind of guy, even in his gangster archetypes, who usually doesn't unnecessarily inflict violence and often will try and not directly inflict violence.
As Mark Fisher points out in his K-Punk article about this, when he discusses, so this is some extra bonus material he didn't have in the book, he says, Goodfellas came out in 1990, but it was already about a moment that had passed. Casino was actually released in the same year as Heat, and it too was self-consciously a period piece, a historical drama about the near past.
Yeah, like that's the thing Scorsese does, like kind of in both of those movies at least. Casino, it's funny because it's like, oh yeah, now it's just commercialized Las Vegas. It's like, okay, it was also gaudy casinos before. There was just violence on humans being committed at the same time. I kind of view it sort of like almost the Nirvana thing from chapter 1. You had Godfather as like the woefully unaware nostalgic romantic. Then you had Goodfellas as sort of the Kurt Cobain who's like sad that like everything's sold out and addicted to drugs now.
Yeah.
And then you have Heat, which is sort of the pre-corporated, fully aware that there was never any magic, and we're just all trying to make money here.
Yeah, they're professionals, they're entrepreneurial, they got a slick operation.
Yeah, like Goodfellas is like, oh yeah, we're not trying to make money. We're being a family, and we don't want that drug shit because that's just about the money. And then Goodfellas is like, oh, we don't want that drug shit because that's about the money. But then they do the drug shit.
Yeah, and as Macaulay says at the bank heist, we're here for the bank's money, not your money. And I think this is kind of
I mean, even contained within that, it's like, yeah, you're already alienated from all of this because of capital. This doesn't affect you guys. This isn't your fucking village bank in like the Wild West where it's like, oh, it's all our home savings deposits.
yeah, and it's definitely like there is no origin for the reason why they're doing it. They don't. The only reason they're doing it is because there's a contract or they're contractors, and someone's saying there's a possibility they can make money off of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they get jobs through their fence. Is it Angelina Jolie's dad? Who was the fence in Heat?
John Voight?
Yeah, John Voight. Yeah.
John Voight. Everyone.
Angelina Jolie's dad.
Yeah, John Voight.
Okay.
He's
a true blue Hollywood conservative.
So yeah, so I think this is all building Mark Fisher's point that we're moving away from this idea of a stable family life, which grounds a kind of working class solidarity or comradeship, and into this new world, this postmodern capitalist realist world where you don't have any ties to the old world, you don't have any ties to your family. All you have is a connection that'll get you money for a temporary amount of time, and that temporariness is really what Mark Fisher is looking at, because before it wasn't as temporary. You had jobs that lasted your entire lifetime. Here you have just one job that you have to do at a time, and you try to make it by getting another job lined up.
Yeah, I think there's also a bit of a, sort of irony to using like crime movies as your basis for this, just because there's, sort of a notional idea that like, oh, the mafioso is the pure capitalist, or like the idea of, organized crime as being just a hyper exploitative capitalism with all the usual appearances and rules stripped away. But, even within that, there's essentially this alienating force that is affecting the crime world as well, or at least our depictions of the crime world. It's moving away from like Godfather, which is this quasi-feudal structure, to Goodfellas, where they kind of still pretend it is, to Heat, where it is just a bunch of independent operators who might be associated with a network.
Yeah, a little bit of a petit bourgeois kind of like small business operation working for a large.
Yeah, and through that you go from like, your heritage espresso coffee to your Starbucks. Mm-hmm. What country is Starbucks from? Italy? I don't know.
I think it's Seattle.
Yeah, that's not a country known for its coffee.
They bought up Seattle. Now it's Starbucks land. It's like Disneyland and Starbucks land.
Right. Yeah.
Boston is Dunkin' land.
Right. Anyway, like it's not your fucking Pasolini movie with the like espresso puller guy. It's now like this weird fucking mermaid that isn't from any country.
She came from a story and became so much more. Our symbol, a muse, a legend that we refine until it defines us. After all, who can resist her?